This area of the Montessori classroom is the maths area. And maths in a Montessori environment is one that is fun. The children love engaging with the material because it's familiar to them. So in the sensorial area, we had a set of rods similar to these, but they were all red. And in that area, they were to introduce the child to the idea of length. But in the maths area, they are here to introduce the child to the idea of numbers and counting and quantities. Maria Montessori was very careful when she introduced maths to the children. Number rods are the first piece of material where the children are introduced to the idea of quantity from 1 to 10. And in that area, the quantities are in a fixed form. So this entire rod is 3. And the child can see how 1 with 1 more added becomes 2, and how 2 with 1 more added becomes 3. But the quantity stays in a fixed form. They don't start like they do in traditional schools by counting loose objects, because for the child to form an idea of quantity, you need to see it as part of a whole. So Maria Montessori designed those number rods for the child to be introduced to quantity. And then, like with the sandpaper letters, we have sandpaper numbers. And the children learn how to write numerals, again using the sandpaper, and again using that idea of tactile, touch, visual, seeing the number, and auditory, somebody teaching them that this is 3. The children have lots of opportunity to experience working with the number rods and working with the sandpaper numbers before we put the two things together. When the children want to practice writing, we get them to write in sand trays. So the child has something that looks like a pencil, and they hold it like a pencil, and they use sand to write and practice their numbers. So it doesn't matter if they make a mistake. They just shake the tray and they start again. By using sand trays, the children practice their letters and their numbers without any worry about getting it wrong, because it's very easy to fix. This is another thing that's quite easy for you to introduce into your ECD centers, and it's quite environmentally friendly. Once the children have had lots of practice counting with the rods and they understand the idea of 1, 2, 3 in that format, and they see how the numbers are written, then they combine the two concepts together. They're two very different concepts, understanding quantity and understanding a numeral. Quantity is a very concrete thing. You can count it. Numerals, writing numbers, is quite abstract. So they're two very different concepts. But once the children have had experience with both of them, then they use these little cards and they match for the first time the number, what it looks like, to the quantity that it is. So the children will count, this is 1, 2, 3, and they will look in their numbers and find the number that's 3, and they match the two things, so that we know that they've understood the idea of 1, 2, and 3. And in a Montessori classroom, you spend a lot of time focusing on this first part of the decimal system, where we focus on units from 1 to 9, and then we introduce 10. Very important that the children have a strong understanding of that, because all of later maths is based on that foundation. The Spindle Boxes is the first time now that the child is going to have the numerals fixed for them. Remember, in the number rods, the quantity was fixed and the numerals were separate. Now we change the concept a little bit and we give them the fixed numeral and the loose quantity. And the child has to take one of these at a time and put 1 into that box and count 1, 2, and place 2 with the 2. So it's reinforcing the same concept, but with a different emphasis of loose quantities and fixed numerals. This piece of material is also used to introduce the child to the concept of 0. And 0 is a very important number in maths. And we seldom take the time to emphasize to the child that 0 is still a number. It doesn't have a quantity attached to it, but it's an important numeral to hold the place for a number that might come later on. And to give the child a concrete experience of that there isn't a quantity attached to 0, but it is still a number that is important later on in maths. And finally, they will get to a piece of material where they are introduced to the quantity and the numeral separately. So the children will work with a piece of material where now they will lay out the numerals in the correct order. So nothing is prepared for them. The quantity is separate and they need to know how to put it in order, 1, 2, 3. And then they also have the quantity loose and they must add the correct quantity to each numeral. 1, 2 for 2 and 1, 2, 3. And when you're doing your workshop, your facilitators will give you an opportunity to work with all of this material and explain to you all of the things that go behind each piece of equipment. But this preparation that they have, which is something that is very easy for you to give in your ECD settings, all of these pieces of material are easy to make. And if you give the foundation in their ECD settings around understanding these concepts from 0 to 10, counting from 0 to 10, you will be giving the children an enormous gift in understanding maths later on. Other parts of the Montessori material and equipment that are important for the children to be introduced to in maths is everything we can in the concrete form. That means hands-on, that the children can manipulate. So once the children know and understand counting from 1 to 10, you can introduce them to the decimal system. The decimal system is what we did in maths, where we learnt about units, tens, hundreds, and thousands. And we can give the children real experiences of understanding that 10 units is the same as 1 10, and 10 tens is the same as 100, and 10 hundreds is the same as 1,000. We have lots of pieces of material to give the children concrete, hands-on manipulation with maths concepts so that it goes into their brains and will be stored there at the right time of development. So when they access those concepts in their grade 1, 2, 3, 4 classrooms, they will have some memory of understanding that work. All human beings have a mathematical mind. All human beings have a mind and a brain that wants to understand order and the structure of things and understanding how the world works. That's what maths is. Maths is an organized system of helping you understand the world. And the more we can give to children in their 3 to 6 years of understanding that through concrete play and manipulation, the best gift would be giving them for their later learning. And everything is built on those ideas of independence, creativity, and children accessing their brains and their minds at the right time in development.